Hey you guys, it is holiday time and I'm going to show you guys how to make an apple pie. Now I know that apples are they're harvested in the fall, but it's December, you know, and so it's still good. And apple pie is good all year round, right? So here we go. I'm gonna make a homemade pie crust with it as well. So okay, we're gonna start with that first. What we're gonna need, what I already have, this here. I already have 3 cups of flour, and this is my grandmother's recipe, y'all. So I have 3 cups of flour, of all-purpose flour in here. I'm gonna look at the recipe to make sure, so you might see me looking down at it. I also have, I'm gonna add a cup of shortening. This is butter flavored shortening. You can use shortening. I think shortening makes the best pie crust. Butter makes a good pie crust, but I think shortening makes the best one actually. I'm gonna use 1 tablespoon of sugar. Okay. A teaspoon of salt. Whoever measures salt, right? I just poured, you know, put it in the palm of your hand, and that's good. All right. Maybe I need a little bit more. Actually, I think I didn't put enough. Okay. All right. So, a teaspoon of salt. That's what she told me, actually. A third a cup of cold water, in an egg. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start, and some vinegar. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go ahead and cut this shortening into the butter using my pastry blender, I think it is. You can use a fork if you don't have this. You can use, this is a very invaluable tool. I love it. But you can also do this in a food processor as well. But you know, for somebody just that's kind of a novice, you might not have that, but you can use a fork. And we're gonna just do it until it's crumbly. Okay. And all right, there. That's kind of all the shortening is kind of cut into this now. Okay. So now, let me go ahead and let me add. I'm gonna get a. I'm gonna add my 3rd cup of water. I'm gonna add 1 egg. Usually do the egg, make sure no shells get in it. Okay. The shell actually fell, but there's no shells in this. And 1 tablespoon of distilled vinegar. Okay. 1 tablespoon of that. And I'm actually gonna just use a I'm not going to cut this with the blender. I'm just going to kind of mix it up a little bit. I'll use my, I guess I could use a whisk. Well, I'm going to use a wooden spoon. I'm going to use a spoon to kind of mix it up there. You know, that's really the pie crust. That's, okay, now that that liquid has been in there, kind of put in there, I'm going to use this to go ahead and finish it up. Okay, now what you would do, this will make a top and a bottom crust. This will make, so this is going to be what we're going to use for the top and bottom. I'm going to mix this up, put it in the refrigerator, and then when I come back, I'm going to do the filling. Okay, so I just want you to see, this is what it looks like, and this is actually enough for 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this in half. Split this in half. And I'm going to kind of squeeze it together here. And I'm going to wrap it in saran wrap. I'm going to wrap both of them in saran wrap and put them in the refrigerator so that they'll be easier to roll out when I'm ready for them. Be back soon. Okay, now for the fun part, this is the apple pie filling. Okay, so what I've found is that when you use different types of apples, I think it just makes the pie taste so much better. So what I've done is I have peeled and cut 3 Granny Smith apples, 2 Honeycrisp apples, and 2 Red Delicious apples. You can use whatever combinations you want, but I would suggest you must use Granny Smith apples because they have this beautiful tart kind of flavor that you want mixed with the Honeycrisp. To me, Honeycrisp just is what apple tastes like. And, you know, in my opinion. And then, of course, you get the softness of the Red Delicious if you like soft apple pie. Some people like crispy apple pie. So you have like a mixture of those in there. So anyway, that's what I'm using. So they've been sitting in lemon water, freshly squeezed lemon poured over it, and then some lemon zest inside of the water, and the apples have been sitting there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about so I'm going to take these out, actually. I'm going to take these out, and I'm going to put them in a bowl. Okay. Okay. So, all right, so there's that, and I'm going to set that to the side. Okay, get that out of there. Okay. So we have this. Okay, now what's going to happen is I'm going to add 1 1/4 cup of, this is pure cane sugar, but 1 1/4 cup of sugar. I like to add it in the bowl first. And then I'm adding my spices. This is 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 3/4 teaspoons of freshly ground nutmeg. So I use this and use the cheese grater. This is what nutmeg looks like. You can get it in the Mexican section of your store, of the grocery store, for like 99 cents to like $1.49 for a package. And then so I used 3/4 teaspoons of that, and I use 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. That's what's in here. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 3/4 teaspoon of freshly ground nutmeg, and 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. And so I'm gonna mix that with this. And then kind of just use one of my little measuring spoons here to mix it together. Okay. And then I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna pour it over. I just kind of want to sprinkle. I want to sprinkle it. Oh, you can't even see me doing it. I'm sorry. Sprinkle it over the apples. And then to kind of bind everything together, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. Okay? Now, if you don't like getting things on your hands, then you can use a spoon of some sort. But I want to coat these. I want to mix it up with my hand. I want to make sure that all of the apples get all that lovely flavor, that they get the sugar and the spices on there. And like I said, I found that some apple pies that I've eaten, you taste the spice and you don't really taste the apple. So I think these spices will help to bring out the flavor of the actual apple. Okay? So here's what that's looking like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll out my pie crust. I am horrible at rolling out pie crusts, so I will spare you that, but I'm going to put some flour down here, roll out my pie crust for the bottom. I'm going to put it in this deep dish, glass dish. You can use a metal, if you have it, but you want to do it in a deep dish. And then we're almost done. Okay, so here's my pie crust, and I'm not going to go too close because I'm one of those just get it in there kind of folks right now. But we got the pie crust in there at the bottom, and so I'm going to take my apples, and apples have that natural kind of, the sugars are going to bring out the liquid in them, so you're going to have some liquid, and that's okay. You see, it's kind of piled high. You want to pile it high because the apples are going to cook down. So the last thing I'm going to do before I put the top layer on there is I'm going to take a stick of melted butter, and I'm going to drizzle it onto my apple pie. Some people dot the butter, whatever. I just, why not? Melt it. Okay, so I'm going to come back. The last thing is I'm going to put the top layer on there. I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to put it in the oven. Okay, so I had to nix that top crust, and I just did a little, lattice. So it looks pretty here. I don't know if it looks good there or not, but anyway. So I did this. I'm going to stick this in the oven. It's preheated at 400 degrees. I'm going to stick it in stick it in there until it gets done. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoy this apple pie when you make it yourself. Have a good one. Bye-bye.